Welcome to the Root Cause Podcast, where we talk all things agriculture, business, and entrepreneurship. Today with us, we have Zach Hefty out of South Dakota. He's a farmer, agronomist, and content creator. Alrighty, y'all, we are back here at the Root Cause studio. It feels like it's been a little minute since we've been here.
It's been a month.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got Caleb Dinwiddie here with me. We know him. And then we got a new face, Zach Hefty from South Dakota. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from South Dakota, from a very small town, southeast corner of South Dakota. And so I produce content. I'm an agronomist. We have a farm. We kind of do it all. I just graduated school a year and a half ago. And so far, I've just been learning about agriculture, learning about farming through my dad and uncle who are on Ag PhD TV and Ag PhD radio. And so it's been a really fun journey so far. Time's been flying by, though, so it's been great. Yeah. So I'm glad to be here.
So how did you go to college for agronomy?
Yeah, I went for agronomy and agribusiness at Morningside. It's in Sioux City, Iowa. It's a small private school, so yeah.
I know all about them small schools. So do you think growing up on a farm and your dad and your uncle, that has kind of led you to where you are today?
Yeah, I honestly, though, when I was growing up, I didn't think that I was going to be doing exactly what I'm doing now. I tried every single thing that you could do within our business, doing accounting, eventually being in the warehouse, doing inventory, all the different parts of it, because I didn't honestly know what I was going to do. And then I went to school for agronomy and started learning about it and just realizing how awesome it is and how cool farming is, and just really got the passion for it. And so then ever since I started school, I've just been wanting to do what I'm doing now, and so it's been great.
So I heard that you're a fifth-generation farmer. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, so the family farm's been kind of going on for a while, but my grandpa moved to South Dakota a year after my dad was born, and in 1969, when he started...
You just told your dad's age.
Yeah, he says that he's old, but he calls himself a young farmer because the average age of the farmer is a lot older than he is. So, so he always likes to joke about that. But so my grandpa moved up to this area, or where we're from now, and then my dad and uncle have been farming since then, and then now I'm started getting into the business. And one thing I talked about with you, Caleb, before this is it's pretty dangerous on the farm when you're a young kid. And so when I was growing up, I wasn't super involved in driving equipment and stuff like that. And so that's where I think I didn't know that I was going to be doing the agronomy part when I was younger, because I wasn't super involved in the field with the equipment and stuff like that, just because it's super dangerous. And so, but now since I've gotten older, I've gotten the ability to be in equipment and be around the farm a lot more. So
your granddad, he was farming way before he started his business in 69.
Yeah.
The ag business.
Yeah, he was farming down in Iowa, though, where he was from. Mm-hmm. And then my other side of the family farmed where we farm now. And so then when they moved up to here, then when he got married, he moved up in our area around Baltic, South Dakota. And so then that's where he started Hefty Seed Company, and it was called something different. I can't remember. It's like Hefty Seed Supply or something. It's a different name back then, but now it's Hefty Seed Company. So
yeah, it's so the one thing I always appreciate about the people in the North is you all always know your family heritage and how far you went back, and I always appreciate that. And it's a little different here in the South where we have some newer farms and we don't go back so many generations. I say that. I mean, there's plenty of old generation farms, but not as many. And so me and Callie here, it's nice to have that northern accent, and we're real southern. So today you're the one in the room with the accent. So
but when we go places, we're the ones that get made fun of. Don't worry.
Yeah, so
we're the ones that are different.
So that's good. So your grandpa was there. So then he started an ag supply business, and then y'all have just grown that too. And then you're on TV. You've been doing ag PhD for your dad and uncle for a long time.
Yeah, it's been great. And the main thing really is just helping educate farmers to be able to make the most money they can on their farm and their operation, because every farm's different, and it's all kind of about ROI and how much you're making on your investment and stuff like that. So it's not just about like selling or anything like that. It's just educating farmers on kind of what they can do on their farm to help make them more money.
Yeah, and man, how that's changing. You go back 3 years, it's changed. 5 years has changed. 20, 30, 40, 50 years. What a wild ride it's been.
Yeah, it's started out very small. Started out in a garage, Hefty Seed Company did. And then it's slowly moved up to the main office where we're at now. But then it started expanding to other stores. And so I think it's about 50 stores right now is where Hefty Seed Company is at. And it really started growing after my dad and my uncle came back into the business. And so it's kind of just been great. There's just a lot of things going on, but it's really good.
But do you like the title content creator?
I like it. I think it's fun. I really like making videos and trying to educate farmers on different agronomy things that my dad and uncle are teaching me. And just I want to tell other people about all the things that I'm learning about.
I think we could do better than content creator. I met a lady the other day who's in HR, but she said she was head of talent acquisition. And so maybe, I don't know, we need to work on a better definition. So we're all trying to become educational pieces for ag and supporting what we know. And yeah, so she was the head talent acquisition. So I think we need to work on content creator and get something more refined.
Educator, agronomist, farmer.
All the above.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. It's hard. There's just so many things that we're doing as the farmers are on the farm that it's hard to narrow it down just to one word.
So, I farm sell biologicals. We're doing all this stuff. And then now we're trying to build an education platform for farms. And so, yeah, it's wild, isn't it, how it changes. And it's been changing a lot over a long time with just different kinds of change. So. Mm-hmm.
So do you think, obviously your background, your dad and uncle and all of that, and we've discussed your family history, but let's talk about you. Like, how did you get into content creation? Like you said, you went to college, you grew up on a farm, but you weren't active in running equipment. So how did you get where you are?
Yeah. So honestly, it started back when I was a senior in high school. I wanted to we decided to make that was back when TikTok first started, but we started making videos about baseball because I grew up playing baseball my whole life, played baseball in college. And so we were traveling around with our teammates and we're playing baseball. So we decided to make some TikTok videos my senior year of high school. Then I kind of took a break of doing that until my senior year of college. And I started making videos about baseball again. And and then I started making videos about every single game day. I was making energy drink reviews, videos every single day. Well, we play a lot of games in college baseball, so there's a lot of days where I was making a video, and then it transferred over once I got out of school to making content about farming and about agriculture because I want to help educate farmers, and that's kind of what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. And so then I started making videos about farming, and in our business, we had a little bit of opening in Ag PhD through social media where I wanted to help fill the gap and help take this content that we've been making on TV and radio and bringing it over to social media where a lot of my friends and I on a lot. And so then there's an opening there that I saw. So I just continued to make content for Ag PhD. And then I learned a lot doing that. So then I've made videos on my own too. And so it's just kind of grown from there.
And I'm sure y'all done some printed media stuff through Ag PhD, but pretty much it's been the TV show, radio, that kind of thing. I get a lot of ag magazines today, and we talked about that a little bit. Used to get a box, 20, 30 magazines a month. Maybe now I get 10. But boy, that's really changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. People in my age, I feel like don't get magazines ever. But I think they're cool, but I just think it's different between subscribing to a magazine when you're younger. I don't know. It's just not like what everyone does. And so I just think that there's going to be a lot of media changing to digital or online and social media and stuff. And so that's where I just kind of see everything moving towards eventually. There's still going to be some stuff that's print because it's going to be more authentic and be able to bring to your door and stuff like that. So it's a little bit cool. It's different. It's turning more into a vintage kind of feel, but yeah. I like it.
And this is a personal touch. I mean, 50 years ago, the chances of having a guy from South Dakota and West Tennessee doing a article would be probably slim and none. But here we are today doing this digitally and video. So how neat it is, how things change.
Yeah, it's awesome. I really appreciate you guys having me down and being able to talk on a podcast down in Tennessee. I haven't been to West Tennessee before, so this has been awesome. And no, it's really cool where kind of ag media has kind of changed, because it was not this kind of stuff, pretty recently. So,
well, it's like, I feel like TikTok, podcasts, social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, it's just so much more easily accessible nowadays. Whereas, like, yeah, we can still get magazines, but I'm not saying who wants to subscribe to a magazine, because, I mean, I still look at some, but it's just easier for us to have on hand. I mean, you have your phone on you at all times.
Yeah.
It's just easier to do.
Yeah, it's easy to consume a lot of content, and then you're seeing stuff. And if you're wanting to educate farmers, if they're already on social media, it's pretty easy for you to post, because there's a lot of other stuff that is on social media that's not farming and is not giving a good image to farmers. So being able to post good educational content is just really good on social media.
Yeah, totally. So tell us about maybe your favorite crops you like to look at. And, y'all are primary corn, beans in your area, I'm sure. But there's got to be some more stuff you've tinkered with.
Yeah, last fall I actually saw my first cotton field for the first time, and that's great. But no, on our farm we grow mainly corn, soybeans, and then now alfalfa, because there's a big dairy that moved in. And honestly, alfalfa is pretty fun because it's satisfying when they're mowing it and chopping it, and then you're just having to spray for it, really. There's not as much management behind it. You're just scouting and spraying. But corn is obviously a lot of people's favorite crop, and so that's fun to go scout too. But honestly, any crop is fun to be around and stuff.
Yeah. So what's your opinion? Do you think we need to be searching for new crops, new chances? I mean, corn and beans are the old staple, but I think we really should be exploring different opportunities, because it's hard to compete against the third world countries in the commodity crops.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that, I guess, because it's kind of hard to change what crops you're going to be growing. It just depends on the markets that you're getting. If you're getting new opportunities, like on our farm with being able to grow alfalfa for a dairy, I mean, we're going to take that. And last year was one of our best crops. So it's different markets if they're emerging, and there's able to be different crops that you can grow on your farm. I mean, it takes investment if you're switching to cotton per se, and you have to get a cotton picker, and that's completely different than, I'm not doing any extra work with alfalfa. I just have to plant a different crop. It's a little bit different there too, but as long as there's markets for different crops, I mean, growing different ones is awesome.
So here, we have the West Tennessee Strawberry Festival in May, and we used to have many truck crops in the area, and today there's limited to none, just gardens. But with the robotics coming back, you never know, we might start raising some more local food and vegetables, some more stuff, Callie, that we could have, farm to table.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's exciting, but it's also challenging, because how do you do that? And without robotics, I don't think it'd be possible, but the robots are moving along. So that's an exciting part of ag, isn't it?
Yeah. You never know what's going to happen. The technology's just gone crazy and just gotten giant equipment, really good, fancy equipment. And so it just kind of changed a lot from back in the day, where in corn and soybeans, people were going out spot spraying for weeds because they didn't have herbicides that could spray over the top of the crop. And so, I mean, that stuff's changed even too. And then now there's see and spray technology, where it's just spraying where there's weeds. I mean, there's going to be a lot more new advances that help crops that maybe took a lot of labor, and now maybe they won't use as much.
Yeah. I don't know. It's exciting.
So what do you see in your everyday life of being an agronomist? I mean, it could be a content creator too. That, what are some of the issues that farmers face in your area? Because, I mean, we're obviously different. We have a different crop rotation, but I know we talked about emerging markets and that type of thing, but what are some things you see?
There's things that you can control and there's things that you can't control. And so one of the things that we always talk about is our area, we don't get much rainfall, but that doesn't mean that you can't grow a great crop on that. And so one of the things we talk about is just getting enough fertility into the soil for it to feed the plant, because the fertility is going in with the rain. But if you don't get very much rain, you need to make sure that fertility is pretty high levels so it can be brought into the plant at the right ratios. And so that's one of the big things that we kind of see is being able to work with Mother Nature. And you know that you're not going to get as much rainfall, so preparing your soil so it's ready to go to grow a great crop, really. And so I just think that there's a lot of things that if you can control it, focusing on that kind of stuff and not, knowing about the things you can't control, but not focusing on, I can't do something just because I can't control the markets or the weather. It's just kind of working with it and trying to do the best job you can as a farmer.
Yeah. So last night we were talking about the rain. We had, I think, 3 3/10 of rain here yesterday. Now, you thought that was a lot of rain, you know? So.
Yeah, we probably haven't got that in, 6 months.
It poured. I went and met with a farmer yesterday, and from getting there and getting back, there was already water over the roads.
Yeah.
Flooding.
So, and then you were also talking about there wasn't a lot of snowfall.
Yeah.
Y'all are that, you're low on snow, so. But it's been warm or cool or?
Yeah, it's been, there was a couple of weeks where it was really cold, but it's been, I feel like, warmer than normal, but we haven't got any snow either. So any cold temperatures that we're getting, the frost is getting really deep into the ground. So we'll see how the insect and disease pressure is next year. Because last year our frost came out of the ground early and led to more insects and more diseases. So every year is different. And that's the other part about farming that's great is every single year is different. You never know what's going to happen. And there's different challenges that you face every year. So it's just kind of preparing for all of those every single growing season. And so that's one interesting part about farming is you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, because Mother Nature is still the controlling factor. We can do all the technology's great, everything's great, but at the end of the day, it's the weather and the planting season, and so we can do a lot, but we don't have control.
Nope, you control. What is it they say? Control the controllables, something like that.
Yeah, so that don't apply in farming.
No, not at all. I was in a class the other day, and they were talking about in the way certain businesses are nowadays, and it wasn't talking about agriculture, it was just talking about them in general. Is it better to have a backup contingency plan and just to plan to act last minute, or is it better to try to create a plan and have to change it all the time? And I've thought about that ever since. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, one of the things that my dad always likes to talk about is just preparing for the absolute worst for the growing season. So he can always take stuff out. Like, let's say we get a lot of rain, we get a lot of nitrogen moving through our growing profile, we need to put more on. Then we have the nitrogen ready to go, so we can apply that. Same thing with fungicides, same thing with insecticides. We'll have them on hand to be ready to go for the absolute worst possible scenario, and we can always just cut that out of the program. But at least we're prepared, because you know how it is. If you see some insects in the field, and then if you don't have the product, it kind of sucks to be able to have to go get it, have to get that ready. And you weren't thinking that you were going to spray, but at least if you're prepared beforehand that, we might be spraying today, depending on what we see, and you already have all the stuff set up, I think it just makes it a lot easier and a lot stress-free, I guess, if you knowing that you already have the product and you're ready to go whenever you need it. So
Yeah, you have to be prepared, because just as soon as you think you are prepared, you're not. And the Callie is a planner. So
OCD planner.
Yeah, so me and her, we're going to butt heads a little bit, because you can't plan your day out, trying to see farmers because they're doing this and something happens. But
you run into issues all the time. Like, that's what I was about to ask Caleb next. What are your thoughts? Plan to have to act last minute, or to try to plan out ahead of time? So
I've been involved in 30 crops, and there's no carbon copy. Anything that's worked in the past, it might work again, but it probably won't. So it's, that's why the one thing we got to do is work on some controllables. And that's why I came up, with Profit Max, is to help figure out how to, say, hey, okay, well, we do have this issue, go to the budget, and what does that do to the overall performance of the farm? Because there's no way you can prepare. It's just like your tractor. You can work on your tractor and planter all winter. First day in the field, it ain't gonna go too good probably. So it's just it's just how you do it, and you do have to have a plan, Callie. But we can't say at 8:15 we're going to do this, and at 8:19 where this will be done, and you have to go with the flow and take the punches.
It really is. I texted Caleb the other day. I was out of town. I was like, we got to sit down and talk and figure out, like, match our calendars, match our schedules. And he was like, you're doing good, plan less. And I was like, I don't know if I ever expected my boss to tell me plan less. It was just funny. But I mean, it does help because you just have to take things one step at a time. I'm just talking about life in general, but especially in agriculture, you have to go step by step, day by day. You can't really do a whole lot.
Yeah.
Long term. So looking ahead, what are your plans like going forward?
Continue doing what I'm doing. I like learning about agronomy and learning about business, and so far that's what I'm kind of focusing on. And then creating content or creating videos is kind of taking what I'm learning every day and kind of making that into videos to share to farmers and to social media. But continuing to learn agronomy, continue to studying and get out in the field, talk with farmers, talk with other agronomists, and just learn as much as I possibly can about farming, because I'm very young compared to the average age of the farmer, I guess. So there's a lot of time left, and there's a lot to learn.
Me. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so there's just so much out there to learn about farming. And so it takes a lot of years and it takes a lot of work to learn all that you can. And so just one day at a time, just as much as I can take in or process in is what I'm planning on doing.
So I've done a lot of peer group work, and I really enjoy that because, I didn't like school, but I do love learning. Are you amazed at all the different farms you go to, how innovative, different they are? It's amazing to me. We're all shooting for the same thing, but boy, we don't go about it the same way, do we?
Yeah, exactly. Every single farm is different, and every single operation is different, and every single place is different. So you're going to get different ideas from different growers in different areas, and you might be able to use that on your farm, or you might not be able to, but at least you can get an idea of kind of what other people are doing, and maybe you can try that on your own farm. But it always matters how your farm is doing. So trying new things and figuring out the best way to do things is great. But then figuring out what people have messed up on are their failures too. And that's what my dad and uncle always like to talk about, is the things that we've messed up on our farm, so then other farmers don't make the same mistake that usually costs a lot of money to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Callie, if you're running a retail business, every week you can look at the numbers from the week a week ago, a year ago, and make adjustments to your business plan. But in farming, you just, if you make 40 crops, you get 40 opportunities to make an adjustment. So it's harder, and it's it takes so long to see results. Did this work? Did it not? And so I guess that's why y'all do the big field day and really do a lot of intensive stuff, because it's hard to do all that work on the farm.
Yeah, my dad and uncle put on an Egg PhD field day. That's just to say thank you to everyone that watches or listens or reads about Egg PhD. And so it's awesome. We're hoping to have about 10,000 people there. We have plots in the field too. It's all about education. We have a lot of educational speakers there. And so it's not about selling or just like a normal farm show. It's more about being in the field, learning about agronomy, hands-on, getting in the field, seeing different crops and seeing different management practices, and just about learning and education. It's all free. It's just one day, the last Thursday in July. So this year it's July 31st. So yeah, it's going to be awesome.
10,000 people. Mm-hmm. So how do you walk around? How do you move those people around?
Yeah, so everyone walks around. I can't remember how many acres it is, like 10 or 12 acres of land. And so it's kind of spread out. So you have plenty of room to walk. It's not crowded. Our caterer is also a farmer, so he knows how to get people through a line. Lots of lines for food, but everything's free there: free food, free entertainment, free parking. So that's why it's just to say thank you, and that's why we like doing it.
So how long have they been doing that?
A while. They used to do it, and it was a lot smaller, but it's been pretty keep growing every year and being bigger for probably the past 10 to 15 years.
So there would be things there as a guy in Tennessee I could learn about my farming operation, even though it's how far were you from home? 1,200 miles?
Yeah, pretty far. Yeah. So we've had grown cotton there before. It doesn't really work out too well, but no, we grow a variety of crops and then a variety of big ag chem companies as well as other companies as well. And there's farmers all around the United States and around the world that attend and that will be speaking on educational sessions. And so there's a lot of different practices in agronomy that you can take away from being in Baltic, South Dakota, as well as wherever you're from. So
yeah, well, that's a real testament to your customers and to the ag community to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really awesome. It's super fun. It's a lot of work for one day, and a lot of people don't don't like how much work it is for one day, but it's just super awesome, super great event. So I really encourage you to come up.
July 31st. Mm-hmm. Yep. And all right, well, that's something Callie needs to do, and I should go as well. So,
yeah. What is your role? So, like, what do you do? Do you speak at this event, that type of thing?
I did last year for the first time, but normally I'm just doing like normal jobs, like around the field day, either checking people in, making sure like the speakers sound good for when we have speaking sessions, and just kind of doing what a normal like worker would do at a field day. But I also last year got to moderate a speaking session, so that was fun for my first time. But yeah, I kind of just go around and help out anywhere I can.
Unlock your farm's full potential with Profit Max. Gain access to advanced tools and analytics that identify key areas for increased profitability. Work with seasoned professionals who craft tailored strategies for your unique challenges. Ready for success? Start with a personalized consultation at rootcauseag.com.
That's good. So I'd like to challenge you a little bit. What is the most challenging thing that you see with all your travels and talking to people? What's the biggest challenge for farms today, in your opinion?
That's a really good question. A lot of people,
I guess it's different by region.
Yeah, for sure. We saw a lot of insect pressure and disease pressure last year on our operation and most of the operations in the North or Midwest area, just because we had the frost came out of the ground early. We had a lot of rain early. We had mild temperatures right away, so there's a lot of insect pressure. And down in south, there was more insects and disease, and they blew up too. Mm-hmm. So that was a pretty big issue last year. The aphid pressure we had was incredibly bad. It was one of the worst that they said they've seen. I've only been around not as long, so I don't know as much about how bad that it's been before, but they said it was really bad. And so there's just different practices. I mean, that could be different for each farm, but disease and insect pressure last year is pretty bad. And corn rootworm is also getting pretty bad too, especially up north. Like even in North Dakota, they used to never have rootworms, and last year they had a lot of rootworms. And so people that aren't expecting to get these bad disease problems or bad insect problems like corn rootworms, it can be pretty detrimental if you don't know or not expecting it. So it's just once you see it once or know that it's a possibility, then it's just changing your farming practices or just understanding that this could be an issue in the future and not just expecting that it's going to not be a problem. But so that's a lot of things that we've been talking about or hearing is there's just a lot of like issues or problems that could be prevented too, just not knowing about it, I guess, in the beforehand or never having the experience for it. So you just don't know.
Like tar spot. I mean, that's the last 5 years, that's really become an issue.
Yeah.
We haven't had any, to my knowledge. I think they have in Kentucky, but I don't know of it in Tennessee. Probably have, but yeah, so it's always something new coming. Mother Nature just keeps chunking rocks. So
yeah, there's new diseases coming, new insects coming, and so it's kind of preparing for the worst. I mean, that's the same thing that we kind of talk about. The only problem with disease, though, is that once it gets into the plant, there's not really a way to stop it, and you don't know that it's there until after it shows up, which means it's already been in the plant for a few weeks already. So that's the problem with disease. You can't see it, scout it, and then spray for it. You have to be preventative on it. So that's the one thing with disease that's a little bit tougher.
Yeah. So on my farm, I mean, we're in a transition period. trying to go back to biology to take care of that, because I think if we had healthier soils, that we would fight off some of this stuff. I don't know. It's going to be a path, and I think a lot of big farms are going to have to make this decision. But over time, I think we need to go back to relying upon the biology maybe more than we are the next technology.
Yeah,
So
I completely agree. It's just like with a human. If you're eating a well-balanced diet, you're working out, you're getting enough sleep, you're probably not going to get as sick as much as if you weren't doing those things. And I think that's the same thing with crops. If you have good ratios in the soil, good amount of fertility for your crop to take in, then I don't think it's going to get as sick, or it might be able to fight off some more disease or more insects than a crop that doesn't have that. So I think it's the same thing. And then that's going to ultimately help your yield anyway. So it's going to be good for the soil, good for the plant, and
a good ROI.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So that's a big, it's a big step taking, to do that, to transition your farm. So we've made some steps over the past few years, but we've got some covers out for the first time, and I'm excited about that. I mean, it's not going to be easier, but maybe our ROI will be there, and more of a sustainable path going forward. So
yeah, we utilize cover crops a little bit after our silage crop, just because we have a growing season and we want to make sure things are growing the whole time. But our growing season's a lot less than down here, so we grow oats because they'll die off in the winter, and then we'll be able to plant in the spring into the cover crop being dead already, so we don't have to go kill it off, because we fight a problem in the spring where it could be a little bit too wet, and it's obviously freezing cold in the spring, so we want the ground to be as warm as possible and be able to conserve some moisture, but be able to dry up a little bit so you're ready to plant. So we don't get a whole lot throughout the year. So
yeah, so Callie, their big difference. Our frost date here is it's like November 1st, but a lot of times will be Thanksgiving before we get a killing frost. And in springtime, it's normally Easter. You're under the gun until Easter comes. So I don't understand that, because sometimes Easter's March 20th and sometimes it's April 20th. But then y'all's growing season is just probably 60 days less than ours, or something of that nature.
Yeah, our first crop insurance date is April 10th, and for corn, and then for soybeans, I think it's April 26th. And so we try to base our planting off of that, so we can try to plant as early as possible and the longest maturing crop that we can.
Yeah.
And so then we're cutting silage in the beginning of September, but a lot of times our crop's coming out like in October or finishing up in October, hopefully before a frost that will usually occur around October.
So the silage corn, that's where you're probably utilizing more covers.
Yeah.
Because you have a bigger window.
Yeah, so we'll take it out at the beginning of September, and then we'll have another month of growth that it could have on it. So that's why we do that with our cover crop.
Yeah.
So a normal day in your life, what does that look like?
Well, that's a great question. It's pretty different all the time. In the summer, it's a lot different though than in the winter, because in the summer I'm out in fields a lot more, out with farmers and stuff like that. So summer is a lot different. But in the winter, going to some farm shows, traveling to West Tennessee, going to farm shows, doing some more editing in the office and stuff like that, more office work type stuff. But then when the summer comes, it's all hands on deck, because there's all kinds of stuff. There's more daylight. It's warm. There's people planting, spraying, harvesting. Bringing product around, talking to farmers, talking to agronomists, traveling around the area, seeing how different crops are, seeing how the crops are doing in different areas, going to meetings, stuff like that. So there's a lot that I might do in a day-to-day basis, but a typical day is just right now getting to the office, doing some editing, talking with some farmers, talking with the other agronomists in the office, going to some meetings, and then kind of doing that again until there's like a convention or farm show that we're going to, and then traveling there for a few days for that. So
you do all your own editing?
Yeah.
You're better than me. I could not. I am not tech savvy whatsoever. That is I try to post TikToks and stuff, but it doesn't work. I'm not good at that.
It takes a while to learn that. I was not as good when I started, and I'm still not great. But it just takes a day by day, just learning a little bit more and stuff.
Do you ever do like the day in your lives on your social medias and stuff? Like follow you along and see what you do?
Yeah, I did. I actually made one yesterday, and I edited it this morning, so I'm gonna post it today. Yeah,
That is cool. You need to start doing some of those.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll show you guys after the show.
Okay. That'd be,
Sure, I do want to see it.
Yeah, that'd be great. So what do you use? What's the tool that Zach uses on a daily basis you can't live without?
Probably Premiere Pro, which is a editing service.
Oh, okay. I was like, what
Like
is that?
Adobe editing service. That's where I edit my videos and edit Egg PhD videos and stuff like that. So
Okay. I was going to say my phone.
I was going to say my cell phone, but
That-
you're better than me.
I mean, the phone is great. The phone, I mean, that's number one. But if it's, that's pretty hard to live without, to be honest.
Yeah.
Without the phone, it's probably that, because I do a lot of work on that too.
Yeah. That's So what's the best advice you've received since you've gotten out here and started doing this in a public forum and what you have, who's give you the best advice on what to do and how to create and how to edit?
That's a great question. I don't know. There's a lot of people that are good at editing and good at those specific niches, and so I kind of try to learn stuff from them. But the best thing, I like to listen to a lot of different podcasts and stuff like that, and just being yourself, doing what you want to do, and creating content that you enjoy, as well as will educate others, and just doing that as best as you can do, and then not worrying about like the followers or likes and stuff like that. It's just doing what you want to do, and in a good way that's good for you and good for the people that you're trying to reach, which is farmers in my videos. So I really enjoy what I do, and that's the other thing is if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then you probably shouldn't be doing it, or you should try to find something else. And so when I'm coming out of college, trying to find what I like to do, and I'm really enjoying this. So, I mean, there's no better industry that I can think of than being in agriculture. So that's why I like doing what I do.
Yeah.
That's kind of where, I mean, I feel like I just came out of college and got here, and a lot of people are like, well, how'd you end up there? I was like, well, I really don't know, but I mean, I enjoy it, so I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah.
But so this is a tough question. Where do you think the future of agriculture is going?
That's a really tough question.
I mean,
to
it
be
has like
honest.
a bunch of rabbit holes you can dive down.
It does. For me personally, though, I think that it's going to be a lot more digital, more social media type stuff. I think eventually when like our generation is older or becoming the farm owners and stuff like that, I don't think that the TV and the radio is going to be as prevalent in podcasts and stuff like that, and social media. I think it's just going to keep growing because it's so easy to consume that kind of content. You're just going on your phone, you get addicted to swiping on your phone, and you're watching different videos and stuff like that. And I feel like when we grew up around that our whole life, it's going to be hard to like break that. So
Yeah.
I feel like it just is going to keep growing unless there's some crazy thing that happens, I guess. But at the current, how I could see the future going is a lot less like normal TV, I would say, and more like on your phone, social media, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, you told me that Ag PhD's been out there for over 25 years.
Yeah.
Andy Griffin didn't make it 25 years. That's the greatest show on TV. That's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess it's got to be intimidating. You're going to keep Ag PhD going for the next 60 years?
I would like to, but the thing about it, though, is you just never know what's going to happen in the future, and it's just about taking day by day and just working as hard as you can on whatever you're doing and just one step in front of you, because you can't look into the future too far because you honestly don't know what's going to happen. So it's just whatever you're doing right now, you're trying to focus on it and be able to do it as well as you can possibly do it.
That is tough. But I mean, that is a big thing to take on. Is how many episodes or shows do they post a week? Or is it once a week? Or?
Once a week, a 30-minute like a TV show, and then every single weekday they do a radio show.
That's a lot of content. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be running in circles. What's the play on words that they always use? We were talking about it the other day. Is it weed of the week?
Oh, yeah,
Something
weed
like
of the
that.
week, yeah.
I love that. That is so cool to me. So they find a different one every week.
Yeah, so they'll like repeat them eventually, but every single week there's a new weed that it doesn't need to be like a new weed. It's just like a different weed from last week.
Yeah.
And so they talk about how to control it in all different crops and their thoughts on it. They usually start out, well, now since I've been around and watched enough episodes, I know what they do. But so they start off talking about whatever weed it is, and they talk about their experience with it, how they think if it's easy to control or not easy to control. And then they talk about how you can control it in corn, soybeans, cotton, or whatever crop that you find that
pasture.
Pasture.
Yeah.
That is tough. I feel like we got a lot of weeds of the week around here. Depends on where you're at in the season. So going into, it's the new year. What are your goals?
That's a great question. I need to write down my goals. That's the one thing that I've been wanting to do more of is writing down the goals, because when I see it in front of me, then
you're more likely to do
attainable.
it.
Yeah, exactly. But my goal that I've been talking about, well, a lot of it, it's either fitness or like professional. And so in fitness, I've been trying to do 10,000 steps in a day, which it's a lot. But if you're walking around normally, it's
really not. If you're working outside on the farm, you can probably get that in easy.
Yeah. So that's one of my goals, and just keep working out. And then professionally, I just want to continue to post content on social media, and then continue to learn about agronomy, which will then help me make more content and be able to help more farmers out. So those are kind of my goals. They're very broad, and I think I need to narrow them down a little bit and write them down. And I think they're definitely good goals for
writing them down makes a change for sure. Caleb, what are some of your goals for this year?
Yeah, so doing more podcasts. We got to get better at what we're doing here, and I think we have improved some, but we could do better. But just learning how to do the outreach and trying to connect with farmers on a personal basis, because we're all in the same battle, and just trying to be helpful to others who are facing the same thing, because you don't want to tackle things alone. It's and it's kind of the farmer. You're sitting here making all the decisions, but you're by yourself. It's very lonely. So, and then you go home and your kids are crying, and you're just like, okay, well, they don't, you don't want to go that far. So just trying to connect with more people and network. It's all about networking.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't got to worry about the kid problem. Do you have kids?
No.
Okay, yeah. We ain't worried about that yet.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on. We have had a blast. Caleb, is there anything else you want to ask or say? Or
one thing. So y'all been doing this for so long. Do you get a lot of feedback from your listeners?
I think so. I think what's really helped is on social media, because people will comment a lot more than they might send in an email or maybe even say in person. But I think we've gotten a lot of feedback since we started posting a lot more regularly on social media, a lot more comments about that they either like that topic or that they don't like that topic.
Well, you always get something.
Yeah. There's always some negative stuff. So,
but the feedback, that's really probably is going what guides you on how to keep creating quality content.
Yeah, it kind of, for me, it is. And then my dad and my uncle, they pick all the topics for Ag PhD TV and Ag PhD Radio. And I think a lot of that comes from what farmers are asking them, what different agronomists are bringing them from the farmers, and just getting responses from people like that send in. One of the main things that they get is a bunch of soil tests, because they always will go through soil tests on the radio show, and they get so many soil tests from people. And so that's one of the main topics they love to talk about is soil tests, because a lot of farmers are wondering about it and wondering what to do. And soil fertility is just such a big part of your farm. It makes or breaks your farm too. If you have bad soil fertility, or if you have good, you're going to have good yields versus bad yields. And so
everything's based off the soil.
Yeah, and the one test, we're making a lot of strides, but testing soil health to see where the health of your soil is, and maybe in the coming years we're going to get a lot better technology on that.
Yeah.
So that's good feedback that you get, I guess, to build on.
Yeah, there's a lot of different feedback we get, and a lot of it's good, a lot of it's bad. You just kind of have to take it as it is, and just think about what you're putting out there for content, and just making sure it's educational, and making sure that it's helping teach at least someone about something that they're doing on their farm. So
Yep. Yep. And then you got the field day coming up in July 31st. So that'll be interesting.
We definitely need to go.
Will it be hot?
What's the weather?
It's so variable. Last year was actually really great. It was like 60 in the morning, and then because there was some cloud cover, and then it got up to, I don't know, 80 in the afternoon.
80 in July. Yeah. I would kill for that.
Yeah, it's probably cold compared to here. So
compared to here, it's like what, 100?
Great.
It can be 100.
Yeah,
it can be rough. Yeah. Well, alrighty, y'all. Thank you for coming and making the trip. We have had a blast. And Caleb, thank you for joining us again.
Yeah,
and
we want to really thank Zach for making the trip down, and I've learned a lot from him, and I think we'll learn more to come in the future. So
I like to see your different perspective on things from just being in a different area, but also, I mean, you're closer to my age. We're not saying this in a bad way, but it's a different viewpoint. It's a different, I mean, content creation wasn't something that their generation was around, so it's definitely very neat. But
no, we had magazines. And, yeah, so.
Anyways, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see y'all next time.
All right.
Thanks for joining us on the Root Cause podcast and listening to me, Callie, and Caleb talk about agriculture and business. If you're wanting to see more of my socials or my information, you can look at Zach.Hefty on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok.